They say when you lose your name, you lose your soul. I lost mine twice. Once when my husband died. Once when they put it in a box and sold it to a stranger. Socorro, New Mexico Territory. December 1884. The kind of winter that bites through wool and leather. The kind that makes you wonder if spring will ever come. Snow fell thin and mean across the plaza, dusting the wooden platform where 4 women stood like cattle at auction. 30 men circled them, breath clouding in the frozen air, coins heavy in their pockets. Clara Monroe stood at the end of the line. 29 years old. Widow. Former piano teacher, now a seamstress who mended shirts for men who would not meet her eyes. Her blonde hair hung loose beneath a worn shawl. Her green eyes stared straight ahead, not down, not pleading. Angry. That was what made the men nervous. She was supposed to be broken by now. 8 months ago, her husband Thomas had died in a mine collapse. 8 months of unpaid debts stacking higher than coffins. $300 owed to the bank. 6 months to pay or face the settlement lottery. That was the law in Socorro. That was what they called mercy. The mayor stood on the platform, a wooden box beside him. Inked slips of paper, 4 names, 4 women whose husbands were dead or gone, whose families could not pay, whose very existence had become a transaction. The men who could afford a silver dollar got a ticket. The winner got a wife. The town got its debts settled. Everyone pretended it was legal. Clara had stopped pretending weeks ago. The wind carried the scent of mesquite smoke and desperation. The plaza was packed, not just the bidders, but the watchers, women clutching shawls, children wide-eyed and silent, old men who had seen this before and would see it again. This was entertainment in a dying mining town. This was how Socorro survived the winter. The mayor cleared his throat. His name was Douglas Farrow, a thin man with a thinner conscience. He lifted the wooden box. Gentlemen, you know the rules. $1, 1 ticket, 1 chance. The Lord will decide the rest. Laughter rippled through the crowd, sharp and ugly. Clara felt her stomach twist. She wanted to run, wanted to scream, but her legs were iron and her pride was all she had left. The men began to step forward. A blacksmith, a cattle rancher, a shopkeeper whose wife had died the year before. They dropped their coins into a tin cup, each clink a small violence. They received tickets in return, numbers scrawled in ink. 30 men, 30 chances, 4 women. Clara closed her eyes, tried to remember what Thomas had looked like, tried to hold on to something real before it all became nightmare. Then the crowd went silent. Not the silence of anticipation, the silence of fear. Clara opened her eyes. A man was walking into the plaza, tall, easily 6 feet, long black hair tied low at his neck, skin the color of desert clay. He wore a fringed leather vest over a cotton shirt, dark trousers tucked into worn boots. His eyes were brown and deep and utterly calm. Apache. The word hissed through the crowd like poison. He walked with the kind of certainty that came from knowing you were not welcome and not caring. He stopped in front of the mayor's table, reached into his pocket, placed a silver dollar on the wood. The coin rang louder than church bells. Mayor Farrow stared. His hand hovered over the coin like it might burn him. "You cannot," he started. "Cannot what?" The man's voice was low, steady, the kind of voice that did not need to shout to be heard. "The rule is, any man who pays, I am paying. You are not a citizen. I was born in this territory. That makes me citizen enough." A man in the crowd shouted, "Your kind do not belong here." The Apache turned, looked directly at the heckler, did not blink. "My kind, I am half white. Which half do you want to exclude?" Silence again. The crowd did not know how to answer that. Josiah Crane stepped forward. He was the real power in Socorro, owner of the largest silver mine, president of the bank. 50 years old, silver beard, cold eyes that calculated profit in every glance. He was the reason Thomas had died. Clara was sure of it, even if she could not prove it. Crane's voice was ice. This lottery is for settlers, for builders of this town, not for those who lurk in the hills like wolves." The Apache did not flinch. "Then change the law. Until you do, my dollar is as good as theirs." Crane's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, because the Apache was right. The law was the law, even when it was inconvenient. Mayor Farrow swallowed, took the coin, dropped a folded ticket into the wooden box. The Apache stepped back, stood at the edge of the crowd. Waiting, Clara stared at him. She had heard stories. The half-breed scout who lived alone in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, the man who had fought for the army and been cast out by his own people, the ghost who appeared and disappeared like smoke. His name was Dakota. It meant friend to everyone, the cruelest joke of all. Farrow stirred the tickets in the box. His hand shook slightly. He was not a brave man. He was simply a man who did what he was told. "Let us proceed," he said. He reached into the box, drew a slip of paper, unfolded it slowly, and then something happened that no one expected. The Apache moved, not toward the mayor, toward the... His hand shot out fast as a rattlesnake and snatched the paper from Farrow's fingers. The crowd erupted, shouts, curses, men reaching for guns. But the Apache did not run. He stood there, the slip of paper in his hand, and tore it in half. Lengthwise, a clean rip. Farrow went pale. You destroyed it." "The draw is invalid." The Apache held up the two halves, pressed them together, read the name written across the torn seam. "Clara Monroe." He looked directly at her, across the plaza, through 30 men and a lifetime of silence. "I did not come here to win a lottery," he said. His voice carried. Every person heard. "I came here to return something I stole." Clara's heart stopped. Mayor Farrow sputtered. "What are you talking about?" The Apache ignored him, kept his eyes on Clara. "I was there when your husband died, in the mine. I was the last person to see him alive. And he gave me something I have carried for 8 months. Something that belongs to you." The crowd was a storm of whispers. Clara felt the world tilt. She stepped forward, legs moving without permission. "I do not know you," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. "What could you possibly have stolen from me?" Dakota's expression did not change. But something flickered in his eyes. Pain, old and deep. "Your husband's last words." The plaza went silent. Clara felt the ground drop away. Thomas, the mine, the collapse. They had told her he died instantly, painless, a lie to comfort widows. What did he say? Her voice cracked. She hated herself for it. Dakota shook his head. "Not here, not like this. But you deserve to know, and I will tell you, if you come with me." Josiah Crane stepped forward, hand on his pistol. "She is not going anywhere with you. She is mine by law." Dakota's voice was flat, final. The name was drawn. The lottery is binding. Or do you only follow laws when they suit you, Mr. Crane? Crane's face went red, but he could not argue, not in front of the whole town. The lottery was sacred. It kept Socorro from chaos. If he broke it now, the system collapsed. Mayor Farrow wrung his hands. "Mrs. Monroe, do you consent?" Clara looked at Dakota, this stranger. This man who claimed to know her husband's final moments. She should refuse. She should demand answers here and now. But something in his eyes stopped her. A quiet desperation. A promise. "I will go," she said, "but only to hear the truth. Nothing more." Dakota nodded. "That is all I ask." He turned, walked toward the edge of the plaza where 2 horses waited, one for him, one for her. Clara followed. Every step felt like walking off a cliff. The crowd parted, silent now, watching. The other 3 women stared at her with a mix of envy and pity. They would still be drawn, still be claimed, but not by him. Clara reached the horses. Dakota handed her the reins of a chestnut mare. The horse was calm, well trained. "You are not going to tie me?" Clara asked. "No. Why?" "Because you can leave whenever you want." I am not keeping you prisoner. Then what am I? Dakota mounted his horse, looked down at her. Someone who deserves the truth. He rode north. Out of the plaza, out of Socorro, into the mountains. Clara hesitated, looked back at the town, the women, the men, the box, everything she had known. Then she climbed onto the mare and followed him into the snow. Behind her, Josiah Crane watched, his hand still on his gun, his eyes cold and calculating. This was not over. They rode for 2 hours without speaking. The trail climbed into the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, narrow and treacherous, winding between pinon pines heavy with snow. The sun hung low and pale, offering light but no warmth. Clara's fingers ached inside her gloves. Her breath came in short clouds. She had not ridden a horse in months. Her thighs burned. Her back screamed. But she did not complain. Dakota rode ahead. He did not look back, did not check if she was following. He trusted the silence. Clara studied him, the way he moved with the horse, like they were one creature, the way his eyes scanned the trees, the rocks, the sky, always watching, always aware. He had the posture of a soldier, straight, alert. But there was something else, a weariness that went deeper than muscle. She wanted to demand answers, to shout at him, to force him to stop and explain. But something held her back. Perhaps it was the stillness of the mountains. Perhaps it was the way he had looked at her in the plaza. Not with hunger, not with pity, with recognition, like he knew what it meant to be alone. The trail narrowed further. They entered a canyon, walls of red stone rising on either side. The wind died. The only sound was the crunch of hooves on frozen earth. Finally, Dakota stopped. A small clearing opened beside a frozen stream. He dismounted, began gathering wood for a fire. Clara slid off her horse. Her legs nearly buckled. She caught herself on the saddle, forced herself to stand straight. Dakota glanced at her, said nothing, just kept working. Within minutes, he had a fire burning, small, efficient. He pulled a battered pot from his saddlebag, filled it with snow, set it over the flames to melt. Then he reached into another bag and drew out a handful of dried corn, added it to the pot. Clara stood at the edge of the firelight, watching, waiting. Dakota stirred the pot. You should sit. We have a long way to go tomorrow. I will stand. Suit yourself. The silence stretched. The fire crackled. The corn began to soften. Clara's stomach growled. She had not eaten since dawn. A piece of bread. Nothing more. Dakota ladled the corn mush into a wooden bowl, held it out to her. Eat. I am not hungry. You have not eaten since yesterday. I can tell. Clara frowned. How do you know? Because I have starved before. I know the look. She hesitated, then took the bowl. The warmth spread through her hands. She sat on a flat rock, brought the bowl to her lips. The mush was bland but filling. She ate slowly, tried not to show how desperately she needed it. Dakota filled a second bowl for himself, sat across from her. They ate in silence. When she finished, Clara set the bowl down, looked at him directly. What did Thomas say, before he died? Dakota did not answer immediately. He stared into the fire. His jaw worked like he was chewing words he did not want to swallow. Finally he spoke. He said, "Tell Clara I am sorry. Tell her I did not mean for it to end this way." Clara's throat tightened. That is it? That is what you stole? An apology? No. Dakota's voice was quiet. There is more, but I need you to trust me first. Trust you? Clara's laugh was bitter. You just bought me like cattle at auction. I did not buy you. I bought your freedom. There is a difference. How? I am still here, still at your mercy. Dakota looked up, met her eyes. You are not at my mercy. You are free to leave, right now. Take the horse, ride back to Socorro. I will not stop you. Clara stared at him, searching for the lie, the trap. There was none. Then why did you enter the lottery? Why go through all that if you were just going to let me go? Dakota's expression hardened. Because the same men who laughed would have dragged you to another winner, or worse. Crane would have made sure you ended up with someone loyal to him, someone who could control you. I entered to stop that. Why do you care? Because I owed your husband. Owed him what? Dakota stood, walked to the edge of the firelight, stood with his back to her. Thomas saved my life once. 3 years ago, I was scouting for a cavalry unit near the San Andres Mountains. We were ambushed. Apache raiders. My own people. They knew what I was. A traitor. They wanted me dead. Thomas was the lieutenant. He could have left me. Most would have. But he pulled me out. Took a bullet in the shoulder doing it. We barely made it back. He turned, looked at Clara. He never asked for thanks. Never held it over me. Just said, we take care of our own, even the ones who do not fit. Clara felt something crack inside her chest. That sounded like Thomas. Stubborn, loyal, foolhardy. So you paid him back by entering a lottery? I paid him back by keeping a promise. What promise? Dakota walked back to the fire, sat down, pulled something from inside his vest, a piece of cloth, stained, old. He held it out to her. Clara took it, unfolded it carefully. It was torn from a shirt, leather fringe, Apache style. But the fabric underneath was cotton, trade cloth, and there was blood, brown and dried. Her hands began to shake. This was in Thomas's coat pocket when they returned his body, she whispered. The sheriff said he died alone, but you were there. You were in the mine. Dakota nodded. Clara looked up. Her eyes were daggers. So either you tried to save him or you killed him. Dakota did not flinch. If I killed him, why would I come back? Why would I risk my life to enter that lottery? Maybe guilt. Maybe you want forgiveness. I do not want forgiveness. I want justice. And the only way to get it is to show you what your husband died protecting. Clara stood. The cloth fell from her hands. What are you talking about? Dakota stood as well. Thomas did not die in an accident. He was murdered. And Josiah Crane ordered it. The world tilted. Clara stepped back. That is insane. Crane he is the most powerful man in Socorro. Why would he kill a miner? Because Thomas was not just a miner. He was an engineer. He surveyed new shafts. He knew where the silver was. And he found something Crane did not want anyone to know. What? A vein, massive, worth more than the entire town, but it was not on Crane's land. It was on public territory. If Thomas reported it, the federal government would claim it. Crane would lose everything. So Crane made sure Thomas never reported it. Clara shook her head. You are lying. You have to be. I wish I was. Then prove it. Dakota held her gaze. I will. Tomorrow. There is a place, a cabin, your husband's real office, not the house in Socorro. He kept records there, maps, evidence, everything you need to see. Clara's breath came fast. Her mind raced. This could not be real, could not be true. But the cloth in her hands, the blood, the timing of Thomas's death, it all fit. She looked at Dakota, searched his face for deception, found only exhaustion. Why tell me this now? Why not in Socorro? Because Crane owns Socorro. If I had spoken there, we would both be dead by morning. Out here, we have a chance. Clara sank back onto the rock. Her head spun. Dakota knelt beside the fire, added more wood. You should sleep. We leave at dawn. I cannot sleep. You will. Exhaustion does not ask permission. He was right. Clara felt the weight of the day crashing down. The lottery, the ride, the revelations. Her body demanded rest even as her mind screamed. She lay down near the fire, pulled her shawl tight, stared at the stars through the canyon walls. Dakota settled on the opposite side of the flames. He did not sleep, just watched the darkness. Clara's eyes grew heavy, but before she slipped under, she whispered one question. What is your real name? Dakota looked at her, surprised. They call you Dakota, but that is not Apache, it is Sioux. A faint smile touched his lips, the first she had seen. My mother named me Naichi. It means the mischievous one. Why do you not use it? Because when you are half of two things, you use the name that keeps you alive. Clara closed her eyes. Sleep came fast and dreamless. When she woke, the fire was still burning. Dakota was gone. Panic shot through her. She sat up, heart racing. Then she saw him, standing at the edge of the clearing, facing the trail they had ridden. He was listening. Clara stood, walked quietly toward him. "What is it?" "Riders. 3, maybe 4, coming fast." "Crane?" "Probably." "How far?" "An hour, maybe less." Clara's stomach dropped. "What do we do?" Dakota turned. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "We run." He moved quickly, doused the fire, gathered their supplies. Within minutes, the horses were saddled. Clara climbed onto the mare. Her hands shook. Dakota mounted, looked at her. "There is a way through the canyon, narrow, dangerous, but it will lose them. Can you ride hard?" Clara nodded. "I have no choice." "Good." He spurred his horse. Clara followed. They rode fast. The trail twisted. Rocks jutted from the walls. The horses' hooves rang like hammers. Behind them, distant shouts echoed. They were being hunted. Clara leaned low over the mare's neck. Her heart pounded. This was madness. She barely knew this man, barely trusted him. But she had no one else. The canyon opened into a wider valley. Dakota veered left, into a gap so narrow Clara thought they would not fit. But they did. Barely. The walls pressed close. The sky became a ribbon overhead. The horses slowed, picked their way through. And then they emerged into a hidden valley, small, green, even in winter. A hot spring steamed at the center, and beyond it, tucked against a cliff face, was a cabin, small, rough-hewn, half hidden by juniper. Dakota stopped, dismounted. "This is it." Clara slid off her horse, stared. "This is Thomas's office?" "Yes." She walked toward the cabin, slowly, like it might vanish. Dakota followed, opened the door. Inside, the air was cold but dry. Dust covered everything, but the room was intact. A table, chairs, shelves lined with books and papers, and on the table, spread out like a map of the world, were drawings, engineering sketches, survey lines, and in the center, marked in red ink, a single word: vein. Clara stepped closer. Her fingers traced the lines. Dakota stood in the doorway. He found it 6 weeks before he died. He was going to report it to the territorial governor, but Crane found out first. Clara's eyes burned. She picked up one of the papers, a letter addressed to her, unfinished. "My dearest Clara, if you are reading this, I am likely dead." Her knees gave out. Dakota caught her, eased her into a chair. She read the letter. Every word. Thomas's handwriting. Shaky, rushed. He wrote about Crane, the vein, the danger. And then, at the end, "Trust the Apache scout. His name is Dakota. He is the only one who knows where this is. I am sorry I put you in danger. I love you. Thomas." Clara's hands shook so hard the paper fluttered. Dakota knelt beside her, silent. She looked at him, tears streaking her face. "You kept his promise," Dakota nodded. "I tried." Clara folded the letter, held it to her chest, and for the first time since Thomas died, she let herself cry. Not quiet tears, not widow's grief, but rage and sorrow, and the awful weight of knowing the man she loved had died trying to do the right thing. Dakota did not touch her, did not speak, just stayed close. Outside, the wind picked up. Snow began to fall, and somewhere in the distance, riders searched for them. But here, in this small cabin full of ghosts, Clara Monroe finally had the truth. And it was going to cost her everything. The cabin smelled of old pine and forgotten time. Clara sat at the table for what felt like hours, reading every document Thomas had left behind. Survey maps marked with elevation lines and mineral deposits. Ledgers showing payouts to miners who had disappeared. Letters Thomas had drafted but never sent, warning the territorial governor about suspicious cave-ins and men who asked too many questions before they died. Dakota stood by the window watching the valley below. His posture never relaxed. Every few minutes his eyes would scan the tree line, the ridges, The single path that led to this hidden place. He was waiting for something, expecting it. Clara finally looked up. Her eyes were red but dry. She had run out of tears somewhere between the third and fourth name on Thomas's list of the dead. 14 men, she said. Her voice was hollow. Crane killed 14 men to hide this vein. That we know of, Dakota replied without turning. There may be more. Clara stood, walked to the window beside him. Why did Thomas not go to the law? He tried. The sheriff is on Crane's payroll, the mayor too. Anyone with power in Socorro answers to Crane. Going to them would have been suicide. So he was going to go over their heads, to the territorial governor. Yes. But Crane found out. Dakota nodded. Thomas was careful, but not careful enough. Someone talked, or someone saw. Either way, Crane moved fast. The mine collapse was planned. Thomas and 5 other men went down that morning. Only 2 came back up, and they were Crane's men. Clara's jaw tightened. You were there. You said you were the last to see him alive. I was. Dakota finally turned to face her. I was scouting the area, looking for Apache raiding parties. The Army hired me for tracking work when they needed it. I heard the explosion, rode to the mine entrance. It was chaos. Men screaming, dust everywhere. I went in, against orders, found Thomas pinned under a support beam, alone. His voice went quieter. He was still conscious, barely. I tried to lift the beam, could not alone. I told him I would get help. He grabbed my arm, said no, said there was no time. That was when he told me about Crane, about this place, about you. Clara's throat tightened. What exactly did he say about me? Dakota hesitated, then spoke with the precision of someone who had memorized every word. He said, "Tell Clara I never signed it. Tell her the land is still hers. Tell her not to trust Crane. And tell her I am sorry I was not the husband she deserved." The last sentence hit Clara like a fist. What does that mean? Not the husband I deserved? Dakota looked away. I do not know, but something in his tone said he was lying. Clara stepped closer. You are keeping something from me. I am keeping a lot of things from you for your own protection. I do not want protection. I want the truth. The truth will hurt you. I am already hurt. Tell me. Dakota's jaw worked. He stared at the floor for a long moment. Then he walked to the table, picked up a small wooden box Clara had not noticed before, opened it. Inside were letters, not from Thomas. The handwriting was different, feminine, elegant. Clara's hands shook as she took one, unfolded it. My dearest Thomas, I cannot stop thinking about yesterday, the way you looked at me when you thought no one was watching. I know this is wrong. I know you are married, but I cannot help what I feel. Please tell me I am not alone in this. Yours always, L. Clara's vision blurred. She grabbed another letter, then another, all the same, all signed with a single initial, L. She looked at Dakota. Who is L? Lillian Crane. The world stopped. Josiah Crane's daughter? Yes. Clara's legs gave out. She sank into the chair. Thomas was having an affair with Crane's daughter. I do not know if it was an affair. The letters suggest feelings, but I do not know if they acted on them. How long did you know? I found the letters when I came here the first time, after Thomas died. He told me about this cabin, told me to bring you here if anything happened to him. I came to make sure it was safe. Found these. Clara stared at the letters scattered across the table. Her husband's secret life. A woman she had never met. A betrayal that somehow hurt worse than his death. Why did you not tell me in Socorro? Because you were already being sold in a lottery. I did not think you needed another wound. Clara laughed. A broken sound. So you waited until now, until I was trapped in the mountains with you, until I had nowhere to run. You can still run, I told you. You are free to leave. To where? Back to Crane? Back to the town that sold me? Dakota said nothing. Clara stood, walked to the door, stared out at the snow-covered valley. Did Thomas love her? I do not know. Did he love me? Dakota's voice was soft. Yes, I believe he did. How can you be sure? Because he died protecting you, not her, you. Clara closed her eyes, let the cold air sting her face. Behind her, Dakota spoke again. There is something else you should know. I do not think I can handle anything else. You need to hear this. Clara turned. Dakota pulled another document from the box, a legal paper, official seal at the top. 3 weeks before he died, Thomas filed a land claim for this valley, in your name, not his, yours. If he died, you would own it, and everything under it. Clara took the paper, read it. Her name, Clara Monroe, sole owner. The vein runs under this valley, Dakota said. Thomas was not just trying to report it to the governor. He was trying to make sure you would benefit from it, that you would be protected. Protected from what? From Crane, from the town, from being sold like property if he died. Clara's hands trembled. He knew Crane would kill him. I think so, yes. And he did it anyway. Yes. Clara folded the paper, held it tight. A sound cut through the silence. Horses, multiple, close. Dakota's hand went to his knife. They found us. Clara's heart slammed against her ribs. How? Does not matter. We need to leave, now. He moved fast, grabbed supplies, started for the door. Clara did not move. Clara, we have to go. She looked at him, then at the cabin, at Thomas's maps, his letters, his evidence. No. Dakota stopped. What? If we run, Crane wins. He gets the vein. He gets away with murder. Thomas died for nothing. If we stay, we die too. Then we die, but we do not run. Dakota stared at her. Something shifted in his expression. Respect. Or maybe recognition. You're serious. Yes. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. All right. But we do this smart, not stupid. What is the plan? We make them think we ran, then we ambush them. I do not know how to fight. You are about to learn. Dakota moved quickly. He grabbed 2 rifles from a rack Clara had not noticed, loaded them, handed one to Clara. You know how to shoot? Thomas taught me years ago. Good. Here is what we do, he explained fast. Simple. They would leave the cabin door open, make it look abandoned, hide in the rocks above. When Crane's men entered, they would have the high ground. It was not a good plan, but it was the only plan. They climbed. The rocks behind the cabin formed a natural ledge, good cover, clear view of the door. Clara's hands shook as she gripped the rifle. She had shot targets, bottles, rabbits, never a person. Dakota knelt beside her. If it comes to shooting, aim for center mass. Do not hesitate. Hesitation gets you killed. I do not know if I can. You can, because the alternative is worse. The horses grew louder. 5 riders crested the ridge. Crane was not among them. But Clara recognized 2. Frank Dobbs, Crane's foreman, and Sheriff Pike, the man who had declared Thomas's death an accident. The other 3 were hired guns, rough men with dead eyes. They dismounted. Dobbs gestured to the cabin. 2 men approached, guns drawn. Clara held her breath. The men kicked open the door, entered, shouting. Then silence. 1 man emerged. Nobody here, but the fire is still warm. They left recent. Dobbs cursed. Search the valley. They cannot be far. The men spread out. Dakota whispered, wait. 1 man walked directly below their position, alone, separated from the others. Dakota moved, silent as wind, dropped from the ledge. Landed behind the man, 1 hand over his mouth, the other holding a blade to his throat. No sound, just a quick struggle. Then stillness. Dakota lowered the body, took his gun, climbed back up. Clara stared. She had just watched a man die. Dakota's expression was stone. 4 left. A shout. One of the men had found the body. Gunfire erupted. Dakota returned fire, dropped another man. Clara raised her rifle, aimed at a figure moving through the trees. Her finger froze on the trigger. Clara, shoot. She could not. The man raised his gun, aimed at Dakota. Clara pulled the trigger. The rifle kicked. The shot went wide, but it was close enough. The man dove for cover. Dakota fired again, hit him in the shoulder. 2 down. 3 left. Dobbs shouted, "Fall back! Get to the horses!" The remaining men ran. Dakota stood, fired twice more, missed. They were gone. Silence fell like snow. Clara lowered the rifle. Her whole body shook. Dakota climbed down. Checked the bodies, took their ammunition. Clara followed on numb legs. Is it over? No, they will come back with more men. We bought time. That is all. How much time? A day. Maybe 2. Clara looked at the cabin, at Thomas's evidence. We need to get this to someone who can use it. Who? Everyone in Socorro is loyal to Crane or afraid of him. Then we go outside Socorro. Dakota turned. Where? Clara thought fast. Santa Fe. The territorial governor is there. Thomas was going to send the evidence there. We finish what he started. Santa Fe is 3 days' ride through open country. Crane will have men watching every trail. Then we do not take the trails. Dakota smiled, grim but real. You are learning. A sound stopped them, hoofbeats, but not from the direction the men had fled. From the opposite ridge, a single rider, moving fast. Dakota raised his rifle. The rider crested the hill, slowed. A woman. Clara's breath caught. She was young, mid-20s, dark hair, expensive riding clothes. She rode well, confidently. She stopped 30 feet away, hands visible, no weapon. Do not shoot, she called. I am not with them. Dakota kept his rifle up. Then who are you? The woman dismounted, walked forward slowly, stopped 10 feet away. My name is Lillian Crane, and I am here to help you kill my father. Clara's world tilted for the second time that day. Lillian looked at her, green eyes, sharp and sad. You must be Clara. I am sorry for everything, especially for loving your husband. Clara could not speak. Lillian turned to Dakota. I know you do not trust me. I would not either. But I have information you need, and you have evidence I need, so we help each other, or we all die. Dakota lowered his rifle, slightly. Why should we believe you? Because I have been feeding Thomas information for months. I was his source inside Crane's operation. I am the one who told him about the vein, about the murders, about all of it. She reached into her coat, pulled out a folded paper. And I have this, my father's personal ledger, every bribe, every death, every crime, signed in his own hand. She held it out. Clara stepped forward and took it, opened it. Pages and pages, names, dates, amounts, causes of death, all in neat handwriting. Thomas Monroe, November 12, 1884. Mine collapse, planned. Witness to vein location. Eliminate. Clara's hands shook so hard the pages rustled. She looked at Lillian, this woman, this stranger, this person her husband had loved. Why are you doing this? Lillian's eyes filled with tears. Because he loved me, and I loved him, and I got him killed. Her voice broke. I was careless. I left a note in his coat pocket. My father found it, figured out Thomas was working against him. That is why he died. Because of me. Because I was stupid and reckless, and I thought love was worth the risk. She wiped her eyes, straightened. I cannot bring him back, but I can make sure he did not die for nothing. So I am asking, please, let me help you. Clara stared at her, this woman who had stolen part of her husband's heart. This woman who was also a victim of Josiah Crane. Dakota spoke first. If you betray us, I will kill you myself. I know. He looked at Clara. Your choice. Clara studied Lillian, saw grief, saw guilt, saw determination. How did you find us? Thomas told me about this place before he died. He said if anything happened, I should find you, bring you here. I tried, but you were already gone, so I followed, waited for the right moment. And this is the right moment? My father's men just tried to kill you. I would say yes. Clara made her decision. You help us get this evidence to Santa Fe, and you testify against your father, publicly. I will. Even if it destroys you? Lillian's chin lifted. I am already destroyed. I just want to take him down with me. Clara held out her hand. Lillian took it. They shook. a fragile alliance built on shared loss and desperate hope. Dakota watched, then nodded. "All right, we leave at dawn. Gather everything. We are not coming back." The three of them worked through the afternoon, loading Thomas's evidence onto horses, burning what they could not carry, erasing their presence. As the sun set, Clara stood outside the cabin one last time. Lillian approached, stood beside her. "I cared for him deeply," Lillian said quietly. "I know." Did he feel the same? "I think so, in a way, but not the way he felt about you." Lillian hesitated. "I think so, in a way, but not the way he loved you. He told me once that you were his foundation, and I was his escape. He needed both, and he hated himself for it." Clara closed her eyes. "That sounds like Thomas, always trying to save everyone, even when it meant destroying himself. He wanted to leave Socorro, take you somewhere safe, start over. He never told me. He was afraid you would say no, that you loved the town too much." Clara laughed bitterly. "I hated that town. He did not know that. We did not know a lot of things about each other." Lillian nodded. "Love is like that, beautiful and incomplete." Clara looked at her, really looked, saw a woman not so different from herself, trapped by circumstance, trying to do right in a world built on wrong. "Thank you," Clara said, "for telling me, for being honest. It is the least I owe you." They walked back to the fire where Dakota was preparing a meal. Simple. Beans and cornbread. They ate together. Three people bound by a dead man and a living promise. As night fell, Dakota took first watch. Clara and Lillian lay near the fire. Clara stared at the stars, thought about Thomas, about the lies and the love, about the man he was and the man she thought he was. She realized they were both true and both hurt. Lillian whispered into the darkness, "Do you think we can actually do this? Beat Crane?" Clara did not answer right away. Then she said, "I think we have to try. Because if we do not, Thomas died for nothing, and I will not let that be his legacy." What do you want his legacy to be? Clara thought. Justice, not revenge, justice. What is the difference? Revenge is about pain. Justice is about truth. Lillian was quiet then. "I like that." They slept. And in the morning, they rode toward Santa Fe, toward truth, toward danger, toward the reckoning that would decide all their fates. The journey to Santa Fe should have taken 3 days. They made it in 5, not because they were slow, because they were careful. Dakota led them through paths that barely existed, game trails through pine forests, creek beds that hid their tracks, high ridges where they could see pursuit coming from miles away. He moved like the land was part of him, reading signs Clara could not see, avoiding dangers she did not know existed. Lillian rode well, but quietly. She was grieving. Clara could see it in the way her shoulders curved inward, the way she touched the pocket where she kept Thomas's last letter to her, the way she flinched at sudden sounds. Clara felt a strange kinship with her, 2 women who had loved the same man, who had lost him to the same violence. The anger she expected to feel never came. Just a hollow ache and a growing understanding that Thomas had been more complicated than she had known. People usually were. On the second night, they camped in a cave high above a frozen river. Dakota built a small fire deep inside where the light would not show. They ate dried meat and hard bread, drank melted snow. Lillian stared into the flames. "My father will not stop. You know that." "I know," Dakota said. "He has men everywhere. Contacts in Santa Fe, friends in the governor's office." "The governor is not his friend." "No, but his secretary is, and his chief of staff. Crane has been paying them for years." Clara looked up. "How do you know?" "Because I kept his books. Before I knew what they meant, before I understood what he was." She pulled the ledger from her coat, opened it, pointed to a page. "Governor's office, monthly payments, $500, started 2 years ago." Dakota leaned closer, studied the entries. "If the governor's people are on Crane's payroll, we cannot just walk in and hand over evidence." "Then what do we do?" Clara asked. Lillian turned a page. There is one person in Santa Fe who is not on this list. Federal marshal named Jacob Thorne. He has been investigating territorial corruption for months. He tried to get information from my father. Crane refused. They hate each other. A marshal could work, Dakota said. Federal authority trumps territorial, if we can reach him. Where is he? Last I heard he was staying at the Exchange Hotel, center of Santa Fe. Dakota nodded. Then that is where we go. Clara spoke. What happens after? If we give him the evidence? If he believes us? Crane gets arrested, Lillian said. Tried. Hanged, if they can prove murder. And us? Silence. Lillian looked at Clara. You will be free. The land claim Thomas filed is legal. You will own the valley, the vein, all of it. You will be wealthy. I do not care about wealth. You should. Wealth is freedom, especially for women. Clara had not thought about that, about what came after. She had been so focused on survival, on justice, that she had not considered her own future. She looked at Dakota. He was watching the cave entrance, always vigilant. What about you? She asked him. What will you do? He did not turn. I will disappear, like I always do. Where? Somewhere no one knows my name. That sounds lonely. Lonely is safe. Clara felt something tighten in her chest. She did not want him to disappear. She did not know when that had changed, but it had. Before she could speak, Dakota stiffened. Someone is coming. He moved to the cave entrance, peered out. Clara and Lillian grabbed their rifles. Dakota held up a hand. Wait. Minutes passed. Then he relaxed slightly. One rider, alone, old. He stepped out of the cave. Clara followed. An old man on a tired horse was climbing the trail. He looked up, saw them, stopped. I mean no harm, he called. His voice was reedy, worn. Dakota kept his rifle ready. Then state your business. I am looking for 3 people, a widow, a half-breed, and a trader's daughter. Clara's blood went cold. The old man raised his hands. Crane sent me, with a message. We do not want his messages. You will want this one. Dakota descended the slope, stopped 10 feet from the rider. Speak. The old man reached into his coat, slowly, pulled out a folded paper. Mr. Crane says he knows where you are going. He knows what you carry, and he knows you cannot win. He is wrong. Maybe, but he offers a deal. What deal? The old man unfolded the paper, read aloud. Return the evidence, all of it. Forget what you know. In exchange, he will forgive Mrs. Monroe's debt, give her $5,000, and let you all live. Clara stepped forward. And if we refuse? The old man looked at her. His eyes were sad. Then he will kill everyone you love, starting with the school children in Socorro. He has men in the building right now, waiting for his order. Clara's stomach turned. He would not murder children? He has murdered 14 men for less. Children are just smaller obstacles. Lillian spoke from the cave entrance. He is bluffing. Are you willing to bet their lives on that? The old man folded the paper. You have until noon tomorrow. Ride back to Socorro. Bring the evidence to Crane's office, or the children die. He turned his horse, began to ride away. Dakota called after him. Why are you doing this? Delivering threats for a murderer? The old man looked back. Because he has my grandson, and I want him to live. He rode into the darkness. Silence fell over the cave. Clara sank to the ground. What do we do? Lillian paced. We cannot give him the evidence. Everything Thomas died for gone. And if we do not? Clara's voice rose. Children die. Innocent children. We do not know if he is serious. Can we take that risk? Dakota spoke quietly. No. Both women looked at him. He turned. Crane is serious. He has killed for less. He will kill children without hesitation if it protects his empire. Then we have no choice, Clara said. We go back. We surrender. No. Dakota's voice was firm. We do not surrender. We divide his attention. How? He knelt. Drew in the dirt with a stick. Socorro is here. Santa Fe is here. Crane thinks we will panic, rush back to save the children. He will have men waiting on the direct route. Here. And here. He marked 2 points. But if one of us goes to Santa Fe, gets the evidence to Marshal Thorne, and the others go back to Socorro, create enough chaos to distract Crane's men, we might save both. Lillian shook her head. One person cannot fight Crane's entire operation in Socorro. No, but one person can start a fire, Clara understood. You want to burn his mine. Not just the mine, his office, his warehouse, everything. Force him to respond. Pull his men away from the school. That is insane. It is the only way. Lillian looked at the ledger in her hands, then at Dakota. I will go to Santa Fe. I know Marshal Thorne. He will believe me. Alone? Clara said. That is too dangerous. Less dangerous than what he is proposing. Dakota nodded. She is right. Lillian takes the evidence to Santa Fe. You and I go to Socorro. We burn Crane's empire. We save the children. Then we run. And if we do not make it out, then Lillian makes sure Crane hangs anyway. Clara looked between them. This was madness. Suicide. But it was also the only plan that saved everyone. She stood. When do we leave? Now, Dakota said. We have less than 12 hours. They moved fast, divided the evidence. Lillian took the ledger and Thomas's most critical maps. Clara and Dakota kept the rest, along with oil and matches. At the cave entrance, Lillian hugged Clara, hard. Thank you, she whispered, for not hating me. Thank you for loving him, Clara whispered back, even when it cost you everything. They pulled apart. Lillian mounted her horse, looked at Dakota. Keep her alive. I will try. Do not try. Do. She rode into the night, toward Santa Fe, toward Marshal Thorne, toward the last hope of justice. Clara and Dakota rode the opposite direction, toward Socorro, toward fire, toward chaos. As they rode, Clara spoke. You know we might die. Yes. And you are still doing this. Yes. Why? Dakota was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Because I have lived too long doing things I am ashamed of. This is the first thing in years that feels right. Clara reached across the space between their horses, took his hand. He looked at her, surprised. Whatever happens, she said, thank you for giving me a choice, for letting me fight. Dakota squeezed her hand. You were always a fighter. You just needed to remember. They rode on, hand in hand, into the darkness, toward Socorro, toward the fire that would burn away the old world and forge something new, or consume them both trying. Socorro slept under a blanket of stars when Clara and Dakota arrived. It was 3 hours before dawn, the coldest, darkest part of night, when even the watchmen nodded at their posts. They left their horses a mile outside town, hidden in a dry wash behind a stand of cottonwoods, approached on foot, silent. 2 shadows moving through deeper shadows. Dakota had spent the ride explaining the plan. Simple, brutal, effective. Crane's mine office sat at the north edge of town, a 2-story building that held records, payroll, equipment storage. Beside it, the warehouse where he kept blasting powder and lumber. Behind both, the mouth of the main shaft, currently closed for the night. The school was on the opposite end of Socorro, a small wooden building where 23 children learned their letters under a teacher who barely made enough to eat. Crane's men would be watching the school. Maybe 2, maybe 4. Enough to kill children if the order came. Not enough to fight a fire. Dakota's strategy was sound. Start the fire at the mine. Make it big. Make it loud. Draw every man in Crane's employ away from the school. While they fought the blaze, Clara would get the children out, get them to safety. Then they would run, fast and far before Crane realized what had happened. It was a good plan. It relied on everything going right. Clara knew nothing ever went completely right. They crouched behind a fence at the edge of town. Dakota surveyed the mine buildings, counted windows, noted doors, memorized exits. 2 guards, he whispered, 1 at the front entrance, 1 walking patrol around the warehouse. Can you get past them? I can remove them. Clara knew what that meant. Without killing? Dakota looked at her. If I can. Please try. He nodded, respected that she asked, that she still believed some lines should not be crossed. Wait here. When you see smoke, go to the school, get the children, take them to the church. Stone building. Will not burn if this spreads. What about you? I will find you. Promise? Dakota hesitated. Then, I promised to try. It was the most honest thing he could give her. Clara grabbed his arm. Be careful. He covered her hand with his, squeezed once. Then he was gone, moving low and fast, a shadow that knew how to hunt. Clara waited. Her heart hammered so loud she was sure the whole town could hear it. She gripped the rifle Dakota had left her, watched. Dakota reached the warehouse, circled wide. The patrol guard walked past, whistling off-key. Dakota stepped from behind a barrel, one swift motion, arm around the throat, pressure on the right points. The guard went limp. Unconscious, not dead. Dakota lowered him quietly, moved to the front entrance. The second guard was harder. He stood directly under a lantern, alert, hand on his pistol. Dakota picked up a stone, threw it toward the mine shaft. It clattered in the darkness. The guard turned, walked toward the sound. Dakota moved behind him. Same technique, quick, clean. The guard dropped. 2 down, no deaths. Yet. Dakota entered the warehouse. Clara lost sight of him. Minutes crawled by. Then she smelled it. Smoke. A window on the second floor of the mine office glowed orange. Then another. Fire climbed the inside walls with hungry speed. Dakota emerged from the warehouse, ran toward her position. An explosion shook the ground. The warehouse erupted in flames, blasting powder igniting in a chain reaction that lit the night like noon. The shockwave knocked Clara backward. Her ears rang. Dakota reached her, pulled her up. Go, now! Shouts erupted across Socorro. Men poured from buildings, ran toward the fire. Clara watched from the shadows as 2 men burst from the schoolhouse, drawn by the explosion. They shouted to each other, then sprinted toward the burning mine, abandoning their post. The moment they disappeared around a corner, Clara ran. The school door stood unlocked. She pushed through. Inside, 23 children huddled in the corner, wide-eyed, silent, terrified. Miss Sarah Brennan stood in front of them, shielding them with her body. When she saw Clara, relief flooded her face. They just left, Sarah whispered, but they will come back. Clara's heart pounded. Then we move, now. Between them, a bottle of whiskey, and huddled in the corner, 23 children, wide-eyed, silent, terrified. The teacher, Miss Sarah Brennan, stood in front of them, shielding them with her body. Clara's blood went cold. This was worse than she thought. The children were already hostages. One of the men looked up, saw the orange glow through the window, stood. What the hell? The second man joined him. They stared at the fire engulfing the mine. Boss is going to be furious, one said. We should help. Our orders are to stay here. Orders do not mean nothing if the whole mine burns down. They argued. Clara saw her chance. She circled to the back door, tried the handle, locked. She looked around, found a rock, wrapped it in her shawl to muffle the sound, broke the small window beside the door, reached through, unlocked it, slipped inside. The children saw her first. One gasped. Clara pressed a finger to her lips. Silence. Miss Brennan turned. Her eyes went wide. She recognized Clara. They had been friends once. Before Thomas died, before everything fell apart. Clara gestured. Get them ready to move. Sarah nodded, began quietly organizing the children. Clara crept toward the main room, peered around the doorframe. The 2 men were still at the window, watching the fire. I am going to check it out, one said. Crane said both of us stay. Crane is not here. And if that mine is really burning, we are going to lose our jobs anyway. Come on. The second man hesitated, then nodded. Fine, but we make it quick. They walked toward the front door. Clara had seconds. She stepped into the room, raised the rifle. Stop! Both men froze, turned. Drop your guns. The first man, a weasel-faced gunman named Petey, sneered. Or what? You going to shoot us in front of all these kids? If I have to, you will not. He was right. Clara could not pull the trigger with 23 children watching. Petey saw it in her eyes, started to draw his pistol. A shot rang out. Petey screamed, dropped his gun, clutched his hand. Blood poured between his fingers. Dakota stood in the doorway, rifle smoking. "She will not shoot you," he said calmly. "I will." The second man raised his hands. "Easy. We are just following orders." "Whose orders?" "Crane's." "Where is he?" "I do not know. He does not tell us that." Dakota stepped closer. "When did he tell you to kill the children?" "He did not. He just said, 'Keep them here. Make sure nobody leaves.'" "And if we came for them?" The man swallowed. "Then we were supposed to kill one, as a message." Clara felt sick. Dakota's expression went cold. "Which one?" "What?" "Which child were you going to kill? You must have picked one. Which?" The man's face went pale. He looked at the children, could not speak. Dakota shot him in the foot. The man collapsed, screaming. "Which one?" Dakota repeated. "The teacher," the man sobbed. "We were supposed to kill the teacher, make the kids watch. Oh God, please, I am sorry, I am sorry." Dakota lowered the rifle. "Get out. If I see you again, I will not aim for extremities." Both men limped toward the door, disappeared into the night. Clara ran to the children. "Everyone all right?" They nodded. Some cried, some were too shocked for tears. Miss Brennan hugged Clara. "Thank you. Thank you. We have to move, now. Take them to the church. Stay there until morning." "What about you?" "I have to finish this." Sarah looked at Dakota, back at Clara. Understood. "Be careful." She gathered the children, led them out the back door, into the darkness, toward safety. Clara and Dakota stood alone in the empty school. "The mine is not enough," Clara said. "Crane will rebuild. He has money, influence." "I know. We need to destroy more than buildings. We need to destroy his credibility, his power." Dakota nodded. "His house. He keeps documents there. Personal records even more damaging than what we gave Lillian. You have been inside?" "Once. 3 years ago. Thomas brought me there, before Crane knew I was helping him." "Can you get in again?" "If we move fast." They ran through Socorro. The fire at the mine had drawn every able man. The streets were chaos. Buckets, shouting, flames reflected in panicked eyes. No one noticed 2 more people running. Crane's house sat on a hill overlooking the town, large, ostentatious, a monument to greed. The front door was locked. Dakota did not bother with subtlety, kicked it open. Inside, the house was dark, empty. "Where would he keep documents?" Clara asked. "Study, upstairs." They climbed. The study was locked too. Dakota shot the lock. The door swung open. The room was lined with shelves, books, ledgers, files. Clara began pulling them down, opening them, reading. Contracts with territorial officials. Bribes documented in Crane's own writing. Land deeds acquired through intimidation. Letters proving he had ordered deaths, covered up accidents, stolen claims. Everything they needed. "We cannot carry it all," Dakota said. Clara looked around, saw the fireplace, the oil lamps. "We do not have to carry it. We just have to make sure it becomes public." She started stacking documents in the center of the room. The most damning ones, the ones that named names. Then she went to the window, opened it, shouted down to the street. "Fire! Crane's house is on fire!" It was not, yet. But within minutes people would come, curious, helpful, and they would see everything. Dakota understood. "You are going to stage it. Make it look like the fire revealed his secrets." "Exactly." She arranged the documents carefully, some partially burned, some intact, all visible. Then she poured lamp oil around the edges of the room, not on the documents, around them, lit a match. Flames crawled across the floor, licked the walls, but the center remained clear. They ran downstairs, out the front door. People were already approaching, seeing the smoke. Clara and Dakota disappeared into the crowd. 30 minutes later, half of Socorro was fighting the blaze in Crane's study. The other half was reading his documents, passing them hand to hand. spreading the truth like the fire spread through wood. By dawn everyone knew Josiah Crane was a murderer, a thief, a tyrant, and his empire was ash. Clara and Dakota met at the church. The children were safe, sleeping on pews under blankets. Miss Brennan kept watch. "It is done," Clara said. Dakota nodded. "Now we run." "Where?" "Anywhere but here." They walked to the edge of town, toward the horses. The sun was rising, pink and gold, beautiful and indifferent. A voice stopped them. "Not so fast." They turned. Josiah Crane stood 20 feet away, alone. No guards, no guns visible, but his eyes burned with rage. "You destroyed everything," he said. His voice shook. 40 years of work, gone in one night. Clara faced him. "You destroyed 14 lives. 40 years does not compare." They were obstacles. They were people. Crane laughed, bitter. "People. You think this world cares about people? Only the strong survive. Only the ruthless prosper. That is the law." "No," Clara said. "That is your law. And it ends today. You think you have won? You think burning my buildings changes anything? I still have money, lawyers, friends in high places." Dakota spoke. "Not anymore. Lillian reached Santa Fe last night. Gave everything to Marshal Thorne. Federal warrants are being issued as we speak." Crane's face went white. "Lillian, my own daughter." "She is not your daughter," Clara said. "She is her mother's daughter, and she chose justice over blood." Crane took a step forward. His hand went to his coat. Dakota's rifle came up. "Do not." Crane froze. "You will not shoot me. Not in cold blood. Try me." They stood in silence. A standoff. Then the sound of hoofbeats. A dozen riders crested the hill, led by a man in a long coat, a silver star pinned to his chest. Marshal Jacob Thorne. He was 50, graying, hard eyes that had seen too much corruption. Beside him rode Lillian. She looked exhausted, but determined. Thorne dismounted, walked toward Crane. "Josiah Crane, you are under arrest for conspiracy, murder, bribery, and crimes against the people of this territory." Crane's face twisted. "You have no proof." Thorne held up the ledger. "I have all the proof I need. Your daughter gave me everything, and your house provided the rest." He gestured. 2 deputies moved forward, cuffed Crane. Crane looked at Lillian. "You will regret this." "I already do," she said quietly. "But I will live with it. Because it is right." They led Crane away. He did not struggle, did not shout, just walked. A defeated tyrant. Marshal Thorne turned to Clara and Dakota. "You two started quite the fire." "He started it," Clara said. "We just finished it." Thorne smiled. "Fair enough. I will need statements, evidence, testimony. We will provide it." "Good." He looked at Dakota. "You are the scout, the one who helped Thomas Monroe." "Yes." "He spoke highly of you in his letters to the governor. Said you were the only honest man he knew." Dakota said nothing. Thorne nodded. "You are free to go, both of you, though I would appreciate it if you stayed in the territory for the trial." "We will," Clara said. Thorne mounted, rode back toward his men. Lillian approached. She looked at Clara. "I kept my promise." "You did." "What will you do now?" Clara glanced at Dakota, back at Lillian. "I do not know yet. Figure out who I am, without Thomas, without Socorro." Lillian nodded. "If you need help, find me. I will be in Santa Fe, starting over." "Doing what?" "Something good. For once." They embraced. 2 women bound by loss and survival. Lillian mounted her horse, rode after the marshal. Clara and Dakota stood alone in the rising sun. "We should go," Dakota said, "before people start asking questions." Clara looked back at Socorro, the town that had sold her, that had taken everything. She felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, just emptiness where her old life had been. "Where do we go?" she asked. Dakota met her eyes. "You are free. You can go anywhere." "What about you?" "I go where no one knows me." "That sounds lonely." "It is." Clara stepped closer. "What if you did not go alone?" Dakota stared at her. "What are you saying?" I am saying I do not want to be alone either. I am saying that in the last week you have been more honest with me than anyone in my entire life. I am saying I choose you. If you will have me." Dakota's voice was rough. "You do not have to choose me out of gratitude." "I am not. I am choosing you because I want to. Because when I think about tomorrow, I want you there, and the day after, not because of Thomas, not because of debt, because of you." Dakota was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "I am scarred, Clara, damaged in ways I cannot undo. I have done terrible things. I am not a good man. You are a man who kept a promise, who risked everything to help a stranger, who did not take advantage when you could have. That is good enough for me." She held out her hand. Dakota looked at it, then at her face. And slowly, carefully, he took it. "I do not know how to do this," he admitted. "Be with someone, build something. Neither do I. We will figure it out." They stood hand in hand as the sun climbed higher. Two damaged people, two survivors, choosing each other, not because they had to, because they wanted to. 3 months later. Spring 1885. The valley Thomas had claimed bloomed with wildflowers. Purple lupine, yellow brittlebush, red Indian paintbrush. The hot spring steamed in the cool morning air. Birds sang in the juniper trees. Clara stood outside the cabin, the same one where she had learned the truth, where her old life had ended. It looked different now. They had repaired the roof, built a small porch, planted a garden. It was still rough, still isolated, but it was theirs. Dakota was down by the stream, building a fish trap. He had taught her to fish, to track, to read the land. She had taught him to read words, to play simple songs on Thomas's old harmonica, to laugh without looking over his shoulder. They were learning each other, slowly, carefully. It was not always easy. Dakota had nightmares, woke fighting invisible enemies. Clara had days where grief crashed over her like a wave, when she could not stop crying for the husband she had lost and the lies she had believed. But they held each other through it. No judgment, no demands, just presence. Clara walked down to the stream, sat beside him. "How is it coming?" "Almost done." He tied the last knot, tested the trap. "Should catch enough for dinner." "Good. I am tired of rabbit." He smiled, small, but real. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the water flow. Clara spoke. "Lillian sent a letter." "What did she say?" "The trial is set for June, in Santa Fe. She wants us there, to testify." "Will you go?" "Yes, will you?" Dakota nodded. "I promised Marshal Thorne." "It will be hard, facing it all again." "Yes, but necessary." Clara picked up a smooth stone, turned it over in her hands. She also said something else. "What?" "Crane has been trying to make deals, offering money, information, anything to avoid the noose. Will it work?" Thorne says no. "The evidence is too strong. But Crane is not giving up." Dakota's jaw tightened. "He will not escape justice, not this time." Clara believed him. They sat a while longer. Then Dakota spoke. "I have been thinking." "About what?" "About names." Clara looked at him. "What about them?" "You are still Clara Monroe, married to a dead man, defined by a past that was built on lies." The words should have hurt. They did not. They were just true. "What are you suggesting?" Dakota met her eyes. "I am suggesting you choose a new name, one that belongs only to you." Clara's heart beat faster. "And what name would that be?" "Whatever you want. You are not Monroe anymore. Not really. You are someone new, someone who fought and survived and chose her own path. You deserve a name that reflects that." Clara thought, turned the stone over and over. "What about you?" she asked. "You used Dakota, but your real name is Nietzsche. Do you ever want to go back to it?" "Sometimes." "But Dakota has kept me alive. Nietzsche was the boy whose mother died. Dakota is the man who survived. Can you be both?" "I do not know." Clara set down the stone. "I have an idea." "What?" What if we both took new names, together, not Monroe, not Dakota, something that represents who we are now, who we choose to be? Dakota stared at her. You are proposing. What? Marriage. That is what you are describing. Taking a shared name. Clara's breath caught. She had not thought of it that way, but he was right. I suppose I am, in a way. You do not have to marry me out of convenience. I know. She turned to face him fully. So let me ask properly. Dakota, Nietzsche, whatever name you choose, will you marry me? He looked stunned. You're serious? Yes. Why? Because I love you. The words hung in the air. Clara had not planned to say them, but now that they were out, she knew they were true. Dakota's eyes filled with something raw, vulnerable. You love me, yes? I am broken. I have killed. I have nothing to offer you but this cabin and a hard life. That is enough. You are enough. Dakota stood, paced, ran his hands through his hair. Clara waited. Finally he stopped, looked at her. I love you too. I have since the moment I saw you in that plaza, standing there angry and unbroken. I told myself it was just admiration, respect. But it was more. It was love. And it terrified me. Why? Because everyone I have ever loved has been taken from me. My mother, Thomas. I could not survive losing you too. Clara stood, went to him, took his hands. You will not lose me. I am choosing you. Every day. For as long as we have. Dakota pulled her close, rested his forehead against hers. Then yes, I will marry you, if you will have me. Clara smiled. I already said I would. Then we need a name. They thought. Standing there by the stream, Clara spoke first. What about Thorne? After the marshal, the man who helped us. Dakota considered. It is a good name, strong, honorable. Clara Thorne, it sounds right. Dakota Thorne. He tested it, nodded. Yes, it fits. Then it is settled. When do we marry? Now. Today. There is no preacher, no church. We do not need one. We have each other. We have this land. That is church enough. Dakota smiled, full and bright. The first time she had seen him truly happy. All right, then let us do it properly. He led her to a flat area near the cabin, where wildflowers grew thick. They stood facing each other. Dakota spoke first. I do not know the right words, but I know what I feel. I promise to stand beside you, to protect you when I can, and hold you when I cannot. To be honest even when it hurts. To choose you every day, as you have chosen me. Clara's voice shook. I promise to trust you, to see you as you are, not as the world tried to make you. To build a life with you that is ours, not defined by the past, but by what we create together. I choose you, Dakota Thorne. I choose us. They kissed, soft, then deeper. When they pulled apart, they were both crying. Not from sadness, from relief, from joy, from the overwhelming weight of being fully seen and fully accepted. They spent the rest of the day working together, building, planning, talking about the future. That night they lay under the stars. Clara rested her head on Dakota's chest, listened to his heartbeat. Do you think Thomas would approve? She asked quietly. Dakota was silent. Then, I think Thomas would want you to be happy and alive. He died trying to ensure that. I wish I could have known him better. The real him, not the version I created in my mind. He was complicated, good and flawed, like everyone. Like us. Yes, like us. Clara closed her eyes. I am glad we found each other. So am I. They fell asleep like that. Two people who had lost everything and found each other in the ruins. 1 year later. Spring 1886. Clara stood outside the new schoolhouse. It was small, just one room, but it was theirs. She had used some of the money from the Silver Vein to build it. A school for Apache and white children both. A place where they could learn together, where names and blood did not matter. Dakota had helped with the construction. He also taught tracking and survival skills. The children loved him, especially when he told stories about the old ways, about his mother, about the land. Clara taught reading and writing and music. She had ordered a piano from Santa Fe. It arrived last month. The children were learning simple songs. The school had 12 students, not many, but it was a start. And Clara had help. A young Apache woman named Aita, daughter of one of Tekota's mother's tribe, had come to the valley seeking work. She was 22, fierce, and brilliant with children. Clara hired her immediately. Together, they taught side by side. 2 women, 2 worlds, 1 classroom. Aita had become more than an employee. She was family. Lillian visited often. She had started a fund for widows and orphans, using Crane's seized assets, turning his greed into something good. Crane himself had been hanged 6 months ago. Clara had not attended the execution. She told herself it was because she did not want to see death, but the truth was simpler. She did not want to give Crane the satisfaction of knowing she cared enough to watch. Tekota had offered to go in her place, to witness justice being served, but he too had declined. His death does not undo what he did, Tekota had said. It just ends his ability to do more harm. That is enough. When the news arrived that the sentence had been carried out, Clara felt nothing. No relief, no triumph, just a quiet acknowledgement that one chapter had finally, truly, closed. Clara had not attended. Neither had Tekota, but Lillian had. She said she needed to see it end. Afterward, she had come to the valley, stayed for a week, cried, healed a little. She and Clara had become genuine friends, not just allies, but people who understood each other's pain. The territorial governor had officially recognized Clara's land claim. The vein was hers. She had hired miners, fair wages, safe conditions. The silver was flowing. She was wealthy now, truly wealthy. But she lived simply, in the cabin, with Tekota, teaching children, building a community. This was enough, more than enough. Clara turned as Tekota approached. He was leading a horse. On the horse sat an old Apache woman, fragile, dignified. Clara recognized her from Tekota's descriptions, his mother's sister, his aunt, the last living member of his family who remembered his mother. Tekota helped her down. The old woman looked at Clara, studied her with sharp eyes. Then she spoke in Apache. Tekota translated. She says you have kind eyes, like my mother. Tell her thank you. Tell her she is welcome here. Tekota translated. The old woman nodded, smiled slightly. She reached out, touched Clara's stomach. Clara froze. She had not told anyone yet, had only just begun to suspect. The old woman spoke again. Tekota's eyes went wide. She says you carry life, a child. Clara's hand went to her belly. I think she might be right. Tekota stared. You are pregnant? I think so. I was going to tell you tonight. He laughed, picked her up, spun her around. The old woman laughed too, a sound like wind through dry grass. When Tekota set Clara down, his eyes were wet. A child, our child. Yes. What will we name it? Clara smiled. Something new, something that belongs to them, not us. Yes, something new. They stood together, 3 generations, old pain, new hope. The school children poured out for recess, running, laughing, playing together without seeing differences. This was what Thomas had died for. Not silver, not revenge, but this, a future where children could be children, where people could choose who they loved and who they became. Clara took Tekota's hand. He squeezed back, and together they walked into the school, into the life they had built from ash and blood and impossible choices, a life that was fully, completely, beautifully theirs. Epilogue. 10 years later, 1896. The valley had grown. More families had come. Apache and white, Mexican and Chinese, all seeking the same thing, a place to belong. The school now had 40 students and 2 teachers. Clara and Aita, the Apache woman who had become like a sister to her. The mine was thriving. But Clara had implemented profit sharing. Every worker owned a piece. It was revolutionary and profitable. Dakota ran a tracking and guide service, teaching people to survive in the wilderness. He also served as an unofficial peacekeeper, resolving disputes, keeping the peace. They had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. The oldest, Sarah, was 9, named after Miss Brennan, who had stayed brave that terrible night. The middle child, Thomas, was 7, named for the man whose death had brought them together. The youngest, Nietzsche, was 5, named for Dakota's true self, the mischievous one. Clara sat on the porch of their new house, bigger than the cabin, but still simple. Dakota sat beside her, gray threading through his hair now, laugh lines around his eyes. They watched their children play in the meadow. "Do you ever regret it?" Clara asked. "Entering that lottery, starting all this?" Dakota thought, "I regret the pain it caused, the people who died. But no, I do not regret where it led. Neither do I. Even though you lost everything, I did not lose everything. I lost the life I thought I wanted, and found the life I actually needed." Dakota smiled. "You have become a philosopher. I have become myself. Finally." She leaned against him. He put his arm around her. In the distance, the children's laughter carried on the wind. This was not the ending Clara had imagined when she stood in that plaza 12 years ago. Terrified, angry, being sold like property. But it was the ending she had chosen, and that made all the difference. She was not Clara Monroe anymore, not really. She was Clara Thorne, wife, mother, teacher, mine owner, friend. She was all the names she had chosen, and none of them owned her. She owned herself. And that was the greatest freedom of all. The sun set over the valley, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Dakota squeezed her shoulder. "Time for dinner." "Yes, let us call them in." They stood together, walked toward their children, toward their home, toward the life they had built with their own hands and their own choices. Behind them the valley glowed in the fading light, a testament to survival, to love, to the radical act of choosing your own name, your own story, your own ending, and living it fully, fiercely, freely, until the very last page. The end.